Okay, folks, we're live. NOLA film scene with TJ and Play-Doh. He's TJ,
He's Play-Doh.
and she's Ann. Hey, Ann, how you
Hi,
doing?
I'm good.
And Mahoney, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me back.
Our teacher, our friend, soon to be co-star, if we can have anything to say about it. One
Oh,
day. One day.
I would love that.
So we've been planning this since we saw Ann at NOLA Comic-Con.
Yeah,
And
that's
we,
right.
we love having her on. We love talking to her. And we had this whole range of topics we were going to choose from until
Until dun
a
dun
new
dun.
internet rumor started between you and Jeffrey Dean Morgan, to put it dramatically.
Yes,
So,
yes, a new rumor.
what is that rumor?
So the rumor that was posted, along with a little clip from the scene where I slap Jeffrey Dean Morgan. The lines are, I'm trying to remember. It was like, he says something about you starving, and then he says he propositions me. Basically, he's like, I'm sorry for having been. So he says, sorry. He says, um, you starving, like as if to say you're fat, so you're clearly not starving. And then I cry, and then he says, I'm sorry for having been so rude. If you wouldn't mind, I'd like to screw your brains out. And that's when I slap him, and that's the big scene. And the rumor was that one, Jeffrey D. Morgan improvised that scene. Two, that he felt so bad about his improvised line that he gave me a bouquet of flowers afterwards. And that three, that I was actually crying because of the improvised line and not really crying as an actress. And I usually don't engage any kind of internet stuff, especially like trolling. But this was just a little bit too enticing for me because one, all of those things are untrue. The script is that scene is completely scripted. Exactly what you hear is how it was written. The only difference is that we taped a version where Jeffrey Dean used the F word a lot, and a version where he didn't, because you're only allowed so many F words per season in a show. That's the only difference. All of it was scripted, including saying in the stage notes, she cries, right? So, and Jeffrey definitely did not give me a bouquet of flowers because there was no need to. We were just doing our jobs. And so, and then what was so funny about it and sad is that that was one thing, that the rumors were untrue. But the second part that was like disconcerting, and I definitely engaged with people on, was then people felt the need to comment underneath that post and say things like he should have given her a bouquet of flowers and a box of chocolates, or she probably ate the flowers too, or should have given her a McBurger, or just like a bunch of other fat jokes underneath it, which was
Yeah.
like, I usually don't engage with that kind of stuff, but I was like, I'm feeling sparky tonight. I'm gonna go ahead and write back to these people in a very diplomatic way, like, hi, it's me. I'm real. I'm a real person and a human with feelings. Not only is this rumor incorrect, but also there are people behind these roles that are played on television, and we do have feelings. So yeah, there it is.
Yeah, when I saw the comments when you sent us the screenshots, I was just utterly appalled is the best way to put it. Did it first start out, did they use AI and recreate the scene with fake dialogue, or was it just still shot memes?
No, it was actually the still shot memes. That was the scene as it was done. Yeah. So that was correct. It was how it was done and how it was scripted. There was no improvisation. In fact, I don't know. I mean, I worked on 3 seasons of the show. I'm sure somewhere in there is some improvisation, but that show in general is very much scripted. We actually start every scene shoot with what we call story time, and everybody gathers around with the script. We talk it through, and if anything's going to change, it changes at that moment. But there's not a lot of improvisation on Walking Dead because we're shooting some pretty complex stuff, and we shoot a lot of it's shot on film. Some is digital, but some is film. So we're trying to get these shots quickly. So there's no like ample time for people to just improvise and make stuff up. It's very much approved by the network and approved by the writers and the producers. So that is completely false.
I've kind of started slowing down on social media, and I put myself on a little bit of a self-imposed time out for a bit there because there's just so much toxicity. I just don't want to see it. Not so much directed at me, but just in general. And
Yeah.
I it makes it even harder when it's one of my friends that is being attacked for no reason. It doesn't make sense. Except
Yeah.
that people are just mean.
Well, I think that, people forget the line between reality and fiction a lot, right? It's like when people are like giving death threats against actors who killed their favorite character on a show. I'm like, you do realize that this is fiction, right? This is fiction. Um, so it's the same thing with Olivia. It's like she is who she is, and she's the size that she is. But the funny thing is I'm the size of the majority of the average American woman, right? It's just we've gotten so used to what we see on screen that women are very, 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 very thin in general, right? That people who are the size of an average American woman suddenly become the butt of the joke. And it's one thing to have it in the script, but it's another thing entirely for people then outside to be like, I'm going to also go after this character, but it's like there's a person behind that. And would you say that to I know that somewhere in your family there's someone who's a size 12. It's not that big. Not that it would matter. Like I could
Right.
be a size 30, same problem, right? So I dare you to look at your aunt, your sister, your mom in the face and say, should have gotten her a Stairmaster instead. I dare you. Anger.
Yeah.
But it's not only the keyboard warrior mentality, if I can say anything, and because there's nobody's going to get punched in the face because they're on the internet, but it's
Yeah.
negativity drives likes. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Yeah.
Even for this, I kind of
Yeah. There's
alluded.
also
Go ahead.
no. Well, I mean, also just this whole idea of like one of the big rumors was, Anne Mahoney, the person, was crying because her feelings were hurt. I'm like, no, Anne Mahoney is an actress and a trained actress for many years. So if the script says cry, I'm going to cry. And I will cry at the exact moment you ask me to in the script, because that's my job. Right? Am I drawing on personal experiences? Of course, all we are is actors. We're all drawing on personal experiences because it's who we are. And I happened to start my life as a ballerina before I was an actor. So I definitely dealt with a lot of body shaming in my life. But in that moment, I'm doing my job. If it says cry, I cry.
And
Okay,
what a lot of
No,
people tend to forget when they're watching fiction, you talked about actors getting death threats because they killed somebody's favorite character or whatever. They're doing their job, and if they're getting it to that level, they're doing it really well. And I think people get so wrapped up in the story that they forget that there's a human on the other side of that camera. And from being in the industry, you talk to people, and a lot of times they're completely, especially someone that's a character actor, you're dealing with somebody that's completely different than what you see on screen. Some people are themselves turned up, and others are completely different.
Mm-hmm.
And I think folks lose sight of that. And then time and distance, and like Brian said, keyboard warriors, there's no consequence when they just clack away on their keyboard and not take people's feelings into consideration.
That's exactly why I decided to engage. I generally don't. But I decided to engage with these people, and I didn't call in. I wasn't mean, but I was like, oh, that's an original one, or like, oh wow, it's me, the person you're talking about. I'm right here, and I'm a human, right? Because I want
Yeah.
you to remember that that's the truth. I mean, to put it on the flip side, like when I was doing, I don't know if you know the musical Sweet Charity, I played Charity in Sweet Charity, and she's this delightful character. She's very funny and lively and kind. And this is long. I'm trying to make it short. The bathrooms in the dressing room were broken, so I had to use the bathrooms that the audience used, right? And so I was in there using the bathroom at intermission, and I hear these two ladies talking, washing their hands, and they're like, she's just great. I love her. And I bet in real life she's actually a really nice person too. Right. And I'm like, you don't know. I mean, I am, but like, you don't know. So it's so funny the way that people attach qualities about who a person is based on a performance. Like that's our job, right? That's just our job to embody the character. So who we are, you don't know. You think you know us because you see us on camera, you see us in movies and on television, but you don't know.
Yeah. I thought some of your responses to them were pretty clever. A couple of them made me laugh out loud. And I want to address one, not of yours, but somebody replied to your comment. This one just totally set me back. They said, in my defense, I didn't know you would read this. Something along those lines.
In my defense, if you would read this, I'm sure you're a nice lady.
Oh, you're gonna read my comment. You're real. My bad.
It was actually delightful. I was like, yeah, I did read your comment. It's me right here, the real person.
Can I have your autograph?
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sure
Can
you're
I
a
get free
nice
tickets?
lady. Hilarious. Thank you for talking about this because it's just a really hilarious moment.
Oh,
yeah.
No problem. It's I think as a woman, it's highlighted more for you, and no one's talking about my weight, but that is one of my, not self-doubts, my, not even fears, but one of my weak points. I get defensive about it. Not enough to do anything, but yeah, I'll get back to that soon. But my voice attacks me more than those keyboard warriors ever attacked you. You know what I mean? And that's where I really have to struggle with it. But you're also talking about like people assign things to us. In real life, I'm a pretty nice guy. I'll admit that. And I try to respect everybody and I'll have fun and, blah, blah, blah. But I really enjoy playing some skeezy guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we have to access, everybody could be skeezy. Everybody can be every worst thing. It's all in us. And you have to access that and let it go. But things you wouldn't do in real life. So we find the truths and share them with people. And like you were saying, TJ, people get mesmerized. I'm not saying by my performances sometimes, but those emotions we share, that truth touches people, and that's what brings them in. And so then when we hurt their characters, now they're pissed. We've hurt their family. Not that applies to the people who are attacking you, but we blur the lines of reality with reality.
I always say when I teach that the truth, and this is the absolute truth, and I believe it in my heart, you have everything that you need to play any character you will ever need to play in your life already inside of you. It's just having the courage to access it. And, part of that is training, right? Like for me, like training and continuing to train was how I keep myself ready to do whatever comes across my way, right? So if I can be prepared, the only way I can really be prepared is to train, to be available to the work, and to be courageous enough to go, I can play this character who I disagree with and not judge them, right? Come from a place of non-judgment.
That's right.
Which is really, really critical, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you're playing someone who you like violently disagree with, right? If you come from a place of playing that character, if you come from a place of judgment, you're sunk. Because that person certainly understands exactly why they are the way they are, and they know their history and why they've become that way. And their values are very clear to them, and you have to be on their side, right? And I often find that, like, I was just talking about this on Saturday with my Suzuki Method of Actor training class. I actually find that joy is harder for a lot of actors than any dark emotion. To like realistically play joy or laughter
Yeah.
is much, much harder. Because in a way, we all kind of love the idea of digging into these like characters who have trauma or have violence or are villains or have darkness. And so we like to go to those places, but to access joy, true joy and happiness, and make it truthful in the moment, I find a lot of actors, myself included, really struggle with that.
I do.
So
For
yeah,
sure I do. That's harder for me than getting angry or getting sad.
yes. Yes, and I think it's harder because in real life, a lot of us have what we call, I think this is a Brene Brown term, but foreboding joy. Like when good things are going well in our lives, we can't just sit back and enjoy them. We kind of have this like, okay, well, this is great, but when's the other shoe going to drop? Right. And so even in real life, we can't invest fully in joy. And so then we have to play joy. It's hard to, it's scarce, it's hard to attach to, right? So foreboding joy, so like in all of your life as an actor, the best thing you can do for yourself is to live your life fully and in the moment, and know that everything has a cycle. you know Everything has, praise and blame, you have joy and sorrow, you have life and death, and that to embrace those equally, so they're all available to you when the work comes to you to draw from.
Right.
Yeah.
When I took your virtual class, we would we would do a self tape and we would send it in and would critique it and say, not like meanly, but this is good. What about this point? What were you thinking here? Yada yada yada. So one of the times I wasn't getting into it and I started running in place to get my body involved. And I remember your response to that. And that kind of leads me into the question, and I think it straight does. Let's talk about your Suzuki method of training, because I believe that kind of fits in
Mm.
with that. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. So one of my favorite books in the world is called The Body Keeps the Score. Um, so it's just something I talk about in class too. So I may get the numbers incorrect here because I'm not great with numbers, but I don't know if people know, but you have the same thinking enzymes in your gut as you do in your brain. So, but your brain can only process 40 pieces of emotional information at a time. Your gut can process 11 million at a time. So the old adage of trust your gut is very real. And so to me, the Suzuki method of actor training specifically addresses the gut, which is being in the body and the breath, not in the cerebral place. I think anytime you can get yourself into your body and your breath and ground yourself there physically, you're going to be in a more real place as an actor. How do we get there, right? Because on camera, we can't obviously be jumping all around. We cannot push things out in the way we do on stage. On stage, we project things for an audience that is far away to be able to have them understand what we're feeling. With the camera sees what you think, right? It's close, the framing is small, but the body is still involved. So if we can do the Suzuki method of actor training was created by Japanese theater master Sadashi Suzuki in the 1960s. And my teacher at the University of Connecticut studied with him at that time. What it does is it's a series of exercises that are all focused on centering yourself into your gut by way of very difficult physical and vocal training. Um, there's a lot more to it, but I have found, although originally that training was paired with Greek tragedy and Shakespeare, I have found it indispensable as a film actress because it also incorporates a lot of stillness and centered in the core. And so I have been able to actually use that training as an actress more than any other training I've had, because it instills core strength, gut response, instinct, and it also gives you courage because you think like, if I could do this training, it's so difficult, I can do anything. I can access this, I can access anything. So anytime you can get yourself physically involved, and by that I don't mean action, I mean your actual body and your gut being attached to something instead of your cerebral brain, because the brain can get very critical about a lot of things. The brain sometimes, I have hair in my nose, sorry. The brain sometimes stands outside of us and talks and says awful things, right? I
Yeah.
don't believe you, right? What are you doing? This is not what we practice, right? The brain is great for research. It's great for memorizing lines. It is terrible for being engaged one-on-one and shadow boxing with that partner, moment to moment, because acting is what? Living moment to moment in imaginary circumstances, living truthfully with moment to moment within imaginary circumstances, right? And that is not of the brain, that's of the gut. So how do we memorize lines? How do we know how the story ends, right? But still live it moment to moment and not project. Still allow it to unfold in real time. That's how you train the gut, because then the gut is courageous and it's available. It still knows all the lines. It still is, it's all available to you, but almost in the subconscious, so you can actually live it moment to moment, right? Because if you walk on stage as Juliet in the beginning of Romeo and Juliet, you're like, the way this is gonna end is, right?
It's gonna be a real bad day.
We're gonna all die, right? then you don't allow the audience the beauty, and yourself as the actor, the beautiful experience of watching how you get from point A to point Z. And there's so much beautiful stuff in there that cannot exist if you're in a cerebral place instead of in the moment with the people you're acting with, and reacting literally off of what is happening at that moment.
Yeah.
You stunned me into silence, which is a rarity.
I hope not just like stunned you into sleepiness, but
No.
Not even a little bit. No.
It was a beautiful thought, and I totally agree with it, and I didn't want to mess it up by talking. So we will give some contact information, so if people want to learn some acting from you at the end of the show. And one of the topics we had discussed at that con was the current state of filming, not only in the New Orleans area, but kind of all over. Discuss.
yes. So it's bad everywhere, and I love to read the articles about the things that are coming, and but my experience and the experience of, I have dear friends on major shows out of LA and New York and Atlanta. It's not great anywhere right now. And in a way it's comforting, because I'm like, oh, I haven't had an audition in blank amount of time. And my friends who are like at this moment more successful than me in many ways, right, are like me either. So one of the things like I saw is that, Louisiana is the home of the indie film. That was one of the articles I read. And I actually didn't know that. So it shows you like my own knowledge about the industry. But I'm like, way back, I want to say when I first started doing film and television acting, because, I'm a theater actor, classically trained. I sing and dance too. I never intended to do film and television acting. I straight up wanted to be on Broadway. And then it happened to me. And here I am. So way back when I first started doing film and television acting and understanding the film and tax credits, I said out loud so many times, I said, we need to figure out, we keep calling ourselves Hollywood South, but we need to figure out how to invest in Hollywood South so that we have our own TV channels, TV stations, or streaming services. At that time, that wasn't a thing back in like early 2000s, but we need to have our own movies being made and distributed. Like, I love that big stuff comes into our state and takes advantage of our tax credits. I've worked on it. I'm glad that I got those opportunities. But on some level, if we don't start investing in our own industry, we're going to completely be beholden to things coming into the state. So I've been saying this for years. And I even said this as recently just to someone high up, like I want to say it was 2019. And things were good. And they were like, yeah, we're good. We're good. There's all this stuff coming in. Well, here we are. And I really wish that back in, not like they should have listened to me or anything like that, but I wish we had gotten more proactive about that as a community. Because imagine if right now we had our own version of like SCTV in Canada, right?
Mhm.
that is like, that's the home of all kinds of people. Catherine O'Hara from Schitt's Creek, Martin
Eu-
Short,
Eugene
like
Levy, John
Eugene,
Candy.
like all these people. They started in this dinky, precious little studio in Edmonton, Canada, and now you see them everywhere. And if we had back in the early 2000s gone, yeah, this is great, this outside work is great, but what are we doing with the local talent that we have? And now we have an Indigenous writer credit ever since the credits were revamped. And what are we doing with it, right? So something that I've been pitching for years and would like to pitch again is, why don't we have a board of people put together that are, some of them are local, well-known people, like maybe we ask a Patricia Clarkson, maybe we ask a Brian Batt, maybe, and then maybe the rest of the board is made up of local folks who work in the industry. And why don't we get, Hancock Whitney and Gulf Coast Bank and Auctioneer and whoever to put money into a fund that then local writers can pitch their projects to and get at least starting funds for, so that we start to put that money really back into the state, where it really, like, imagine trying to convince the legislature then, when we're like, look, we've got these 10 projects that are all written by local people that are going forward, and they have funding and they have distribution. So that's a big thing, is I think that we have not invested in ourselves in the way that we need to.
That's awesome. I like that idea.
I need to interject for just a second. Does my video look weird to y'all?
You zoomed in for some reason when you came back.
I don't know what is happening. Let me try to get that fixed, y'all. Y'all keep
We'll
going.
just keep talking. If we didn't have a tech problem, it wouldn't be our show, folks. So,
I wasn't even sure how to get on here, so
yeah.
I can appreciate all the technical.
You shared the private link to promote the episode. I was like, no, not this one.
Sorry.
We almost had
He's like,
anybody
"Please
just
sit
walking
down."
in
I
the
was like,
studio. So I like that. I think the United Artists of the last century will be what you described, independent filmmaking and making their own streaming. And I like the distribution links, like setting that up, not just to, like, if we made a streaming service, but we create the pathways. Because I've done a couple of indie movies. I haven't been like the director. I have been like producer because of Kickstarter, yada, yada. But I would not know how to contact to get distribution to the big boys, to the theaters. So I like making the path so that if we were the board and someone approached us and we just went, boom, that's TJ. I think you're on there twice now.
We got you on there twice, but hey,
Double
double the
vision.
TJ, double the fun.
Wow, now we got oh wow, we've got technical stuff. Very cool. I
love
get
it.
distracted by all the bright and shiny things.
Well, look, and I want to just say, like, I'm not clueless about the fact that things have to make money. So in my mind, if we had this pot of money, let's say $10 million, because let's just dream, why don't we make it a selection of things? Why don't we have a horror movie, right? So local writers, let's have a horror movie, because we know that those generally make money. Let's have like a holiday film, because those would be, like, if you want to talk stock market, those would be your blue chips, right? Like, have 5 projects we're trying to produce with $10 million, like 2 or 3 of them are blue chips, and then we have like an indie film and a television series, right? So that the risk is spread around, as opposed to it just being like all indie stuff that, like, we know it's tough for indie stuff to take off and get distribution, but let's and then, maybe part of the clause is, as the filmmaker, if you get funding, you have to put 2% of what you make back into this fund, so it feeds back into itself. And the people hearing these pitches are people who are experienced in the industry, but are local, right? So
Right.
I just think that there's a way to do it, and I'd love to help do it, but I want to be clear. I haven't been listened to about this, and I've talked about it for 20 years now.
Yeah. We listened. Now let's see what we can do about it. We are
TJ, you're silent.
TJ,
can you hear
are you
me?
muted? Oh. Again, tech issues. I didn't know if you want to flip off and come back on. We're coming close to that time. Keep going. Okay. I wasn't doing it because of that. I was looking at the how long we've been recording, and it's just wearing me out. Just all these big thoughts.
I'm sorry. It's like I don't get to talk about this as much as I like to, and I'm
No,
passionate about it. I'm passionate about. I love my state,
yeah,
and I love our local talent, and I think it's second to none. I really, really do. And I want us to start seeing opportunities that are bigger for the local actors, for the crew, for people who want to produce. That's what I want to see. So I'm passionate about it. And if people hate me for saying we need to do this, and I've been saying for 20 years, then they're going to hate me.
I don't think they'll hate you, but the apathetic nature of humanity will. We've got a lot of light a fire under ourselves and other people, because I want this to be my career. Podcasting be all right,
Yeah.
but I'm talking about acting. You know,
Yeah.
I'm tired of being a
Yeah.
janitor. It's all right, but it's a shitty job.
I understand. Cool. Oh, TJ.